Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Friday show. Today we're going to talk about something really important. Stay tuned. Let's play our intro, and I'll be right back. All right, happy Friday. It's December. For real. Christmas stuff is out. People are decorating. Stores are vomiting with Christmas stuff. It is here officially. December is here. Drop a note. Let me know where you're listening from. I love to see people from all over the United States and all over the world tuning in for our Friday show. So let me know you're here. We're going to talk about handling fear today in our dogs and how important of a topic this is. I've talked about it before. It needs to be talked about again and probably again. Andrea, good morning. Lionheart Doodles, Portland, Oregon. Do you guys have snow? We're cold here. The desert does get cold, and we're getting to freezing temperatures at night, and because it's so dry, it's definitely, it feels really, really cold. So we are trying to stay warm over here. I will say I'm fairly proud of myself. I've really not turned on the heat yet. That's a first for me. All right, let's get started. How we handle fear in our dogs. Unfortunately, a lot of fear is perpetuated by us not handling it correctly. We handle it as a human would. We treat our dogs like human, which is a problem. We handle when they experience fear how we would with our child or someone we know. And actually, we're doing more harm than good. So today we're going to talk about how do you really handle fear in a dog so that we can ensure that we're not setting our dog up to have all these unrealistic fears for the rest of their life. Because there's nothing more sad, honestly, than seeing a dog that has all these fears of things that they really shouldn't fear. So that's the goal today, is to help you, whether you already have a dog, you can still change. You can still help this dog. It is much harder once they get older and they've had these long-standing fears forever. But even if it can help a little bit for an older dog, it will be worth it. And especially if you're getting a new puppy or you have a new puppy, please be very cognizant and careful how you manage fear. Morning, Jen. It says it doesn't alert you you're live anymore. Oh, great. That's awesome. Not sure why it does not do that. Well, hopefully people will be able to tune in. If not, then of course we'll have this on our podcast and on YouTube for you to watch later. We'll be able to make sure we get this content out. Okay, the first thing, fear is normal. Fear it helps preserve our breed, right? We have fears, and fear is initially to self-preserve, to protect ourselves, to save ourselves, like heights. Of course, some people fear heights. If you fall, you die. Like at the end of the day, some fears are rational. So having fear alone is not a bad thing. We really work our puppies, and anybody that raises their puppies on the Empowered Badass Breeder curriculum is trained and taught. When a puppy has a startle recovery, when they have that initial, "Ooh, I'm kind of fearful of that," we want them to recover within 3 seconds. Startle recovery is really, really important. It's okay if they startle. It's okay if they experience that initial fear. That's normal. But how we manage it after is critical to ensuring that it doesn't stick as a fear for the rest of the dog, the rest of the life of the dog. We don't want dogs. I mean, why are dogs afraid of your vacuum cleaner? Why are dogs afraid of being groomed? Why are dogs afraid of being in your car and going on a car ride? These are things dogs have to do. They have to be okay with. And yet we have so many dogs that have these irrational fears with everyday kind of things. And so that is my goal. If I can help just a few dogs or a few owners when they get a puppy to ensure that you're not perpetuating this problem inadvertently. I know you mean well, but you're treating them like a human, and that's the problem. So regardless of the fear, rational or irrational, the fear is legitimate to the dog. It is. They fear it. It's legitimate. So we don't want to minimize that, but we also want to ensure that we're not comforting and giving love and affection when they are fearing something. So when they're in that state of mind of, oh, I'm fearful, our first reaction as a human is to scoop in, pick them up, rescue them, right? Pet them, give them love and affection. But to a dog, love and affection is a reward. So what we're actually doing, and you don't realize, and I'm here to tell you right now, what you're actually doing by doing that is you're rewarding the fear itself. Let me say that one more time. When you pet and give love and affection and baby talk and rescue a dog when they're fearful of something, you are rewarding the actual fear. You're telling your dog, you're right, you should fear this. You're literally rewarding the fear, the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. And I know you mean well, and I know you don't know any different, but now you do. So do not be giving a reward, love and affection, while they are in a fearful state of mind. We want to empower and not enable. And this is why we have so many dogs that, and I hear it all the time. I send home a fairly confident puppy and I hear later they're fearful of everything. And it's really, really sad. And the problem is it could have been avoided if we only knew better. And so now you know better to help your dogs not have all these unrealistic, irrational fears for the rest of their life, because that's a miserable way to live. Okay, so we don't want to reward the fear, and that's exactly what's happening when you scoop in and you think you're rescuing them and you're petting them. You're like, I'm so sorry, that was scary, but it's okay. I'm here to protect you. That's what we think we're doing, right? That's what we do with our child, but they're not humans. They don't understand in a way that we do. All they understand is, I'm literally getting rewarded for being fearful of this, so this must be right. You are telling your dog they should be fearful, that you will not protect them, and that they no longer can trust you. And do you see how huge of a mistake that is? You're telling them you are weak. You cannot protect them from the vacuum cleaner. You cannot protect them from a car ride. You cannot protect them. They cannot trust you doing grooming. It's the exact opposite of what you're really trying to do, which then leads to continued and more irrational fears, and those same fears get worse and worse. I hear it all the time. They were okay with brushing initially, but it's gotten worse and worse and worse, and now they're even biting when someone tries to brush them. Okay, I can tell you exactly what happened. Dogs just don't inadvertently, unexplainably increase in their fears. All right? Okay. So now that we understand what's happening and why it's happening, let's just break down how do they display fear. I know most of you know this, but just in case, dogs do give stress signals. So the goal is when they're displaying their stress signals, which so many times we miss, and then it moves into fear, and then we jump in and rescue, and it just is this, it's like this toxic cycle, right? So stress signals, of course, are typically a little bit less than this. It's that little warning like, hey, this is making me nervous. I'm feeling uncomfortable. And when we miss those stress signals, it can go right into fear, and or the event is so startling that they just go right into like, I'm really fearful. So it could absolutely be avoidance or resistance, fighting you to do something. So you put them on the grooming table and they're fighting your groomer, for example, or you get your vacuum out and they book it, like they are gone. Or you get them in the car and they're just, the saliva is pouring down them. They're in such a fearful state of mind. They have a car or a garbage truck drive by and they just absolutely fall apart. I mean, they are in their threshold of fear. They're at the height of their fear. So avoidance and resistance is huge. The freezing, the fight or flight is huge. Fearful dogs will typically bite or run. So a lot of times when dogs are biting, it's really not because they're aggressive and confident. They're biting out of fear. Same thing when we hear about puppies that go home, and this is common, not crazy common, but it happens. Within a couple days or a week, owners are calling and saying the puppy's growling at my kids. Okay, so they're doing it out of, this is the problem, and this is what I say to my clients as the mom and dad: you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing. You're missing these stress signals, and it's getting to the point that the puppy has to feel like they had to protect themselves because nobody's listening. Nobody's honoring and respecting, and many times kids do too much. It's just too much. They're packing them around constantly. These puppies have no free will. They're being bugged when they eat. They're being bugged when they're playing. Like, they're being picked up 50 times a day and moved and controlled, and the puppy's exhausted. They're being woken up over and over and over again, and they're just so overly tired that then they have to feel like they have to start growling to protect themselves. This is a human issue. This is not a dog issue. We're missing the stress signals, which then turns into the puppy having to feel like that to protect themselves. So when that continues over and over and over again, I'm not talking about resource guarding or guarding their human growling. I'm talking about when they feel like they have to protect themselves, and they have to be the voice because you're not, as the adult, protecting the puppy. Anyway, so we miss a lot of those stress signals, and by doing that, then things get worse. So those are just some ways fear or stress signals can present themselves. So what do we do when that happens? Okay, Jeanette, great. You're telling me this is what we do, why we do it. This is how we're screwing up our dogs. Let me tell you how we can truly handle and manage when fear does arise in our dogs. So when fear strikes, here's a couple options. What you have to do is immediately switch into not feeling bad for the dog, even though you do. Like, you have to really control yourself. This is really, really part of taking that commitment to owning a dog and raising a puppy. It's such a huge commitment. I think we forget that. You have to devote, especially the first year of your life raising your puppy, to training, to raising them through expectation, to helping them through fear when it does strike, because it will. It's normal and it's natural. This is your opportunity to let your puppy know, look, you can trust me. I will protect you. I will never put you in a position where your livelihood really is at risk, that your life is at risk. I will never do that. So you're continuing to lay this healthy foundation of I will protect you. You can trust me. So it's this mindset that has to change. The first year is like, I've got to build this bond, mutual respect and love, that this dog trusts me, and it has to be practiced over and over and over again. Because it's going to be challenged and new things will arise. And puppies are super situational. So one man with a hat in one place will be different than another man in a different place with another hat. And you're like, I thought we already went through this. You have to remember, puppies are super situational. It's very different from them. But once they encounter enough different things over and over and over again, and you handled and managed that fear correctly, it gets to the point you can take your dog anywhere and anything could truly happen. They could startle, like, holy crap, right? Like Holly's a startler. My Dyer Ride Girl, my bomb-proof dog, if she was mismanaged and mishandled, she could have been a very fearful, nutty dog. But I can take her anywhere at any time, regardless if we've ever trained through that, regardless if she's ever been exposed to that situation. And we know without a doubt, she knows without a doubt, I will be watching her stress signals. She knows without a doubt, if she does become uncomfortable, I will step in and advocate for her and protect her from whatever she feels like is a threat. And no matter what, though, and it's, she's 11 and a half, so we've had a long relationship, that she knows that she can trust me no matter what. And that's ultimately what it comes down to. And this is what makes happy, fulfilled, balanced dogs. Not they're fearful of everything. So here are some things you can do when fear does strike. The first thing you could do is just sit through it. I know that seems crazy. You're not picking up. You're not petting. Do not put your hands on your dog. Remember, love and affection is a reward. I understand that's your first instinct, but I need you to get it together to be like, this is going to make things worse. I need to be that strong leader. I need to let him know, look, there's nothing to fear. It's okay. We're going to sit through this because I'm going to show you nothing bad is going to happen to you. Dogs cannot stay in a stressful state of mind forever, number one. Number two, dogs can only focus on one thing at a time. So there's a couple different things you can do. If you have the availability, you can distract through play, you can distract through food, why whatever's happening that they're fearful. You can let that start happening in the background, and you can start playing fetch or start giving them treats and start asking them to do things that focuses on you. They can only focus on one thing, right? But if that's not the opportunity and you really need the dog to know like nothing bad is going to happen, sit through it. Don't leave. Show them it's fine, but you need to be neutral. You need to be confident. It's typically environmental. So you're just going to sit and observe, cop a squat, hang out, get on your phone. You're not going to be sitting and putting all this human pressure on your dog. For the most part, kind of ignore them. Give them reassurance. You're fine. It's fine. See, I'm fine. You're fine. Everything's fine, right? Show them there's nothing to fear. When they settle down, when they relax, when they take that deep breath like, okay, I'm fine, you're out. All right, yes, good job. Let's go. Move on out. You're done. That was training session number 1. Then you're going to keep repeating over and over again and making it positive. Next time you go, let's say you're out walking and they start having this fear of when the cars drive by, or the cars drive by fast, or it's a big garbage truck, or a car backfires, or a car honks. So like, holy crap, now I'm afraid of all the cars, right? Okay, now it's your job as their owner, as a responsible and ethical dog owner, to be like, okay, we have some work to do. I saw this could be an issue, and I don't want my dog afraid of cars for the rest of their life. This is just going to be miserable for me and the dog. I need to help my dog work through this. So we're going to start exposing them. So now when you go out on walks, it's merely about showing them that cars driving by are not an issue for them. One thing you can do is use your body. Body blocking is incredibly powerful in the dog world. That means you put yourself between the potential threat and the dog. So I don't care that, your trainer says walk them on the left all the time. If that's the side the cars are on, I will always, even if I think there might be kind of something like make my dog a little nervous, I will instantly put him on the other side of me. I'm in the middle now. I'm letting my dog know through body language, through body blocking, whatever that is, it's not going to get to you. You're safe. I'm in between you and that. I don't care. Anytime I'm walking my dogs, if there's another dog being walked, I always put my dog on the other side. They know without a doubt, mom's in between us. I'm fine. A big truck is coming. I flip them on the other side. It just needs to become second nature. They just know, oh, yep, good. Mom's got it or dad's got it. I'm good. It's fine. So you're going to start training through it. Bring their favorite toy. Bring their favorite treat. When the cars start coming, ask them for attention. Ask them to focus on you. Give them reward. Give them their toy to play with. If there's a fenced-in yard close by, the cars driving by, sit and play fetch. Make it you're desensitizing with purpose and kindness that there's nothing to fear. So you're just going to keep exposing over and over. And it's going to be positive. It's going to be fun. They're going to see through several times, hey, nothing's going to happen. What I thought that scary car was going to eat me, it's actually not. It's actually not a big deal. I focus on mom. I get rewards, not for the fear, but by not having fear. And in fact, she brings my favorite toy, or she brings a really high value treat I never get otherwise, right? So you're just kind of reframing that mindset. Instead of, this is what would typically happen, the scary car drives by, We swoop in, we hug, we protect, we pet. It's okay, it's fine, it's okay. And then we leave, and then we try to avoid that situation again. And that's exactly the wrong thing to do. Just like if you take your dog to a dog park, and I'm not an advocate of dog parks because you cannot say without a doubt, I will protect you. And that's the problem. When you let your dog off leash and you let them run with dogs you do not know, you are setting yourself up to fail. And I never, ever want to put my dog in a position that I could fail them knowingly and willingly. And I am, because my dog could get attacked. How do I know? Because it's happened to me. I used to be a dog park girl. I used to take my dog to the dog park every weekend. And it was my Nala, she got bit on her throat, and if it could have killed her like that, and she had to have stitches, and it was terrible. And then she was fearful of dogs. So what do most people do then? I'm never going to have you around dogs again. I'm going to show you there's no problem. But what you actually have to do now is have them around 30 neutral, trustworthy dogs. You have to show them, look, I know it happened once, and now I need to just kind of rewrite that bad memory with a bunch of positive encounters and new memories with new dogs, that everything is fine. So even something like that, if they have a bad interaction with the dog, or you're walking them and a dog gets off the leash and comes after you, now they're like, and I don't blame them, you are too. You're like, every time a dog's being walked, you're like, well, shit, is that dog on a leash? Oh my gosh, is it going to get loose? Is it going to come after me? And your dog feels that stress, which is going to perpetuate their fear, and it just makes everything worse. And so you have to be the leader. You have to be the one that says, we have to fix this, even though I'm a little nervous about it now too. Like, believe me, like dog parks scare the crap out of me now. I was just as traumatized as my dog, but I knew that I owed it to her. I failed, but I had to make sure this was not a fear for the rest of her life. And I had to make up for that. I had to expose her to call out any friends I knew, anybody that had a reliable, good dog. I'm like, hey, look, I need your help because I made a mistake, and I need to show my dog that dogs really are kind, and that she'll never have to worry about getting attacked again. So we have to rewrite those memories. So forward movement when necessary. When your dog completely shuts down, like they are in the highest state of fear, like they are trying to flee, the best thing you can do is forward movement. It's the most powerful thing. It is for humans too. You know, like if we're really depressed or have a lot of anxiety, really the best thing we can do, which we don't feel like it, is to exercise. Right? Sweat it out. Like it's a biological thing. It's a very powerful thing to do. And it is just as much for our dogs. So forward movement. One example of this for me was when I bought Holly, actually. She came on a plane. She was already 2.5. She was very attached to her breeder. Her breeder was selling her. And she flew in animal cargo, and went and picked her up out of her kennel. And when I got home, I opened up the kennel, and she was so fearful in the back of the kennel, she wouldn't come out. And so I'm like, ugh, do I just pull her out? I'm like, I don't know if I want that to be my first interaction with this dog, you know? So I called the breeder. Her name was Heather. And I'm like, Heather, will you please talk to Holly? I want to get her out of the kennel. So right away, she's like, Holly. And Holly came out, and I put a leash on Holly. And I wasn't ready, you guys. I was probably in jeans. I'm sure I had tennis shoes on, and put the leash on Holly, and we went for a jog. And you don't have to be a jogger. You don't have to be a runner, even just a brisk walk. We went out for like 20, 30 minutes and didn't come home until we had, literally both of us had worked through all of that stress in a positive way. And from that moment on, she and I have been thick as thieves. You know, it can be that powerful in those moments where we don't let our dogs down. So I cannot stress enough forward movement. If you get to that point where they just completely shut down, and it wasn't about like sitting through it, like I had to get her out of the kennel. She just flew. So if it's that kind of event, or even if they sit through it and they relax and settle, the best thing you could do, and we'll talk about this on the next, the next slide, is now forward movement anyway. Exercise and play. It's de-stressing. It's ending things on a positive note. It's like, yeah, my human's pretty fantastic, right? They're understanding what I need. I feel like I was understood. I feel like I can trust them. And beautiful, beautiful things happen when you're able to do that with your dog. So forward movements, powerful. Again, continue to repeat if needed. In my situation, there was nothing to repeat other than having her sleep in her kennel again, which she did. She still loves her kennel. It never became a kennel issue, but it was never forced or anything like that either. So repeat, continue to make positive. Okay, desensitize, doing things with purpose and being kind. Show them proper desensitization of the item or the sound, that there is nothing to fear. So, for example, before 4th of July comes for the very first time, be playing fireworks in the house like it's no big deal. Our puppies in the nursery listen to different soundtracks every day. And I know it's not the same thing of hearing gunshots and fireworks and babies crying and airplanes and vacuums through a speaker as it is in real life. And because puppies are situational, now they hear those same sounds somewhere else. They're like, ooh, but that foundation's been laid of there's still nothing to fear. So as long as it's managed correctly later, then it won't be a fear, So desensitizing is really, really important. You can be playing. That should just be something fairly common. If you have a puppy, there's puppy sounds, desensitizing noises for dogs on YouTube, on Apple Music. Just start playing those soundtracks of all these different sounds for them and desensitize. And especially before the 4th of July, have you put in the work? Have you thought about what will this be like for my dog? And if you feel like there is some sound sensitivity in your puppy, or you chose a puppy from an empowered breeder that did evaluations and they scored that they do have a higher sound sensitivity, it's your job then to ensure you're helping them work through it prior to just like, I'm just going to take them out on the 4th of July and they're just going to be forced to listen to the fireworks. A lot of it is about truly respecting and honoring them and helping setting them up for success. So doing some desensitization, that word's going to kill me, is super important. So let's talk about examples now. Let's talk about examples of situations, really common situations of fear in our dogs and how that should be managed. So just as an example, we want to sit through the fear if we can, if that's appropriate for the situation. Don't jump in and coddle and rescue. So there's no petting and holding and rewarding them for that fearful state of mind. We're going to desensitize, we're going to expose, we're going to use positive praise for bravery. Empowered badass breeders imprint their puppies from the very beginning with the yes word, yes. So as they start curriculum and they're brave and they approach and they explore and they problem solve, we're sitting there imprinting that word yes, yes, yes. And that just means yes, you're brave. Yes, you can trust me. Yes, you can approach. And we give that gift to their owners to continue using. If your puppy has not been imprinted to that, or your dog is older, you still can start teaching them that yes is anytime they approach something new or do something brave, use the yes command and reward for that. And then you're just going to as soon as the dog does settle and kind of releases that stress and like, okay, fine, then you're just going to move forward, praise, and then go de-stress, exercise, de-stressing. Figure out, and you should know if your dog is older, what does your dog do to de-stress? Things they could do are playing fetch, tugging, smelling, sniffing, going out and sniffing, like when they're high stress. So if you don't know, those are very common ways that dogs de-stress, is fetching, sniffing, and tugging. Could be digging, could be de-stressing. Of course, we don't like that one. But then know what your dog loves to do, swimming, fetching, whatever, and do that after one of these more stressful events, because you're starting to lay this very positive pattern. First of all, there's nothing to fear. And number two, positive things come after, not during. Do you see the difference? So we're not rewarding the fear itself, but we are rewarding the bravery for getting through it. Now you're rewarded, and now it's left on a very positive note, okay? And then you're just going to keep repeating until it's no longer an issue. That is the goal. There's no longer a fear for that. Remember, they don't have to like it though. Some dogs may never like the blow dryer. Some dogs will never like the vacuum. Some dogs will never like fly swatters. I don't care, but I don't want them to fear it. I don't want them to go into this panic meltdown mode every time it happens. We are not asking them to like it. We are just ensuring they don't have an unrealistic fear that impedes on the quality of their life. And that is the difference. Here are some examples. So the vacuum. I'm going to talk about, this could be any dog. Even if you've had a dog for a while and they feared the vacuum and you've made excuses and you've put them outside when you vacuumed or whatever you've done, it's still not too late to try. It is harder the longer a dog's been fearful of something. It could be much harder, but here's what you do. So a vacuum. Bring home a puppy. My vacuum's different sounding than your vacuum. Plus, remember, puppies are very situational. So now it's a different thing, right? So they may startle. They may be scared, especially if it's a little bit a softer of a puppy that lacks in confidence. We don't need to make this a big issue. It does not mean this dog is sentenced to life to fear the vacuum cleaner. Here's what you would do. So you get your vacuum out, you start vacuuming, and you notice, whoop, the puppy ran. It was scared out of its mind. You're not going to push the vacuum toward it. You're not going to force them to like it. You're not going to tie them to the vacuum cleaner. I know these sound extreme, right? But you're also not going to rush to the puppy, coddle the puppy, reward the puppy with praise while they're in a fearful state of mind. Now it's your cue. Okay, this is something we need to work on. I got this. I know the tools to do this. I can do this successfully. I'm going to set the vacuum out on the middle of the floor for the next couple of days, just the vacuum, not running, not moving. We're going to desensitize with kindness and purpose, right? As soon as the dog has no issue with the vacuum cleaner sitting there in the middle of the floor, may take a day, may take 3 days. I'm going to feed the dog next to it. I'm going to walk by and touch it. I'm going to roll the ball next to it. I'm going to put treats on the vacuum cleaner, right? So it gets to the point that dog has absolutely no fear of the vacuum cleaner sitting there. Stage one, step one. Step two, I'm going to start turning it on randomly and just let it sit there. We're going to desensitize. See, nothing to fear. The sound is not anything. The vacuum is not anything to fear. The sound is nothing to fear. I'm going to do the same thing. Randomly just turn it on. I'm going to act like nothing is happening. I'm going to act like there's no big deal because it's not a big deal. Feed the dog next to it. Roll the ball next to it. Walk next to it. Ignore it. Do a little of everything. You might have to do that several times throughout the next several days, just turning it on. When it gets to the point that that puppy is no longer worried about the sound of the vacuum, now we're going to go to step 3. So we've conquered the vacuum doesn't scare the dog, and now the sound of the vacuum doesn't scare the dog. So what's our next step? The vacuum moving while the sound is on. We got to conquer that now. Guess what's going to happen? We're going to start pushing the vacuum while it's on. I'll throw the ball for the puppy or I'll throw treats at the puppy. I don't care if the puppy comes and approaches the vacuum. It doesn't have to like the vacuum. It doesn't have to be next to me while I'm vacuuming. He can go or she can go lay on its bed and eat a Kong or a high value treat like a bully stick or a yak while I'm vacuuming. I just don't want the unrealistic fear of the vacuum. I don't care if you don't ever want to come next to the vacuum, but I don't want you fearful of the vacuum. So I'll just do that. As training sessions, I'm not actually trying to get my vacuuming done, and I'll never, ever push the vacuum toward the puppy to escalate the fear. Hey, the whole point is that you can be trusted. So I'm just going to be vacuuming in my own little space, doing my own little thing. But again, I want to set my puppy up for success, and I'm either going to have the ball and sit and play fetch while I'm vacuuming, in air quotes, right? Or, like I said, giving them a high-value treat. They can only focus on one thing, and I definitely don't want them to focus on the vacuum because at the end of the day, it does not matter. And the fact that we have so many dogs terrified of something like our vacuum is really, really sad. Car rides. You hear so many dogs are terrified of being in the car. It's the same concept of the vacuum. Guess what? I'm going to go sit in the car. We're going to sit it out. I'm not going to move the car. I'm not going to turn the car on. I'm going to bring a good book or something to work on, bring my phone. I am not going to exit the car with the dog until the dog completely settles, until the dog completely relaxes. So typically they're going to stand and they're going to pant like crazy because they're in a fearful state of mind, right? They're panting, they're drooling, they won't relax. This could take 30 minutes. So just be ready. Just be ready to sit out there, bring stuff to do. You're going to ignore the dog. You every once in a while can reassure the dog, you're fine, it's fine. But you just feeling it and you acting like there's no big deal and you're ignoring essentially their silliness, right? It's valid, but I need my energy to show them there's nothing to fear. And speaking of that, there's nothing greater of a teacher than another dog that's not fearful of things. So if you have that neutral dog at home already that doesn't fear things, guess who the puppy will always look to first? A puppy will always look to that other dog first. If your established dog at home is fearful of all these things, then you're going to have a fearful puppy. They're going to look to the other dog and be like, ooh, why are we fearing this? What's wrong? So I have to talk to clients when they do want to get that second dog. One, we get a very confident puppy. Two, they have to do a lot of these things separately at first. So if your established dog is scared of car rides, do not take your established dog and the new puppy in the car. Like, why would you do that, right? We want the puppy to experience things on their own accord and their proper healthy way first. And then, you know what can happen? The goal is, and I've seen this happen over and over, guess who then teaches the established dog, look, dude, there's nothing wrong with the car. The puppy will start to help the other dog. And that's the goal. That's really kind of a beautiful thing. But you have to be managing and handling this correctly, that you have a very safe pack. You are a very safe, trusting, reliable human. So you sit in the car until they completely relax. Once that happens, once they lay down and like, okay, fine, I'm going to take a nap. Boom. Yes. All right, let's go out. Let's go now right into exercise, not love and affection yet. Go from the stressful event right into exercise and then love and affection. Okay, now we're going to go back out to the car the next day. Now it's going to take 20 minutes maybe. Boom, out, exercise. Third day, maybe 10 minutes of high stress. You know what? Once it gets to the point that dog just jumps in the car, lays right down, now I know we can start turning the car on. That's all we're going to do until we get to the point that that dog jumps right in the car, settles down, the car is on. Once that happens, now we start driving. That's step 3. Once we go out driving, though, I'm not coming back. I'm not letting that dog out of the car until it completely relaxes. That's the reward. Hey, look, I've showed you there's nothing to fear. In fact, once you relax and you're settled in the car, we're out. And guess what we get to do? We get to play, we get to de-stress, we get to do your favorite activity. Man, now the respect and the bond I'm creating with my dog. This is what a true connection is. A man in a hat. Remember, I don't care if the dog likes the man. I don't want unrealistic fears. So you can desensitize with the hat separately than the man. And here's the other mistake we do. The man in the hat shows up and the dog's fearful and we push the man on the hat on the puppy. Okay, that's being an unreliable leader, right? Why don't you just have the man in the hat sit on the floor and start rolling the ball or start throwing treats? Quit putting so much human pressure on the puppy. Let them come to people. I always say that. Everybody with a puppy right now, or you have a puppy in the future, please train your humans that come over, your new humans, anybody that comes into your puppy's life. Please ignore my puppy. Please respect my puppy enough to wait to engage until they initiate. Incredibly powerful. We wouldn't have dogs fearful of people if we would honor them in this way. We push people right on and we hand them right off. They go from intense, excited people to a sad person, and it's so much work. I mean, you would feel the same way. You would be like, oh, I'm so an introvert now. Every time new people come over, it's a negative experience. They push themselves on me. I give little stress signals to say, please stop, I'm done. My reliable leader isn't listening. Now you're going to lose trust in your puppy. And now we have fear issues. Instead, if you would let the dog initiate engagement, over time, guess what's going to happen? The puppy's like, I'm respected. I can trust my family. I can trust other people. I get to initiate. And you know what? I kind of like it. Like, people are good. Then they give me pets and loves and rewards and treats or whatever. Balloons, same thing with a vacuum. Desensitize little by little by little. Don't push. Don't tie balloons to the dog. Don't force balloons in their space. Just have them innocuous in the corner. No big deal. Move them to the middle of the room, whatever. Like, it's all about this kind desensitization, making it be it's no big deal. Again, I don't care if they like balloons. We don't want them to fear it. Dogs getting groomed. Why do so many dogs have this just really fear of the vacuum? I mean, the blow dryer, of the brush, especially in doodles or breeds that have to be groomed. It typically starts with the owner. The dog resists being groomed or is fearful of the vacuum or the blow dryer, and then you don't do it anymore. Or you don't desensitize with kindness. You just force them into it, right? They do need to know this is going to happen. Like, you cannot get out of being brushed, and you cannot get out of being bathed and blow dried. So, but the same thing with the blow dryer. You can desensitize just like the vacuum, but then at the end of the day, they have to be groomed. They have to be blow dried. They have to be bathed. You just have to be matter of fact, no nonsense. And again, they don't have to like it, but you do have to comply. And that's the difference. You don't have to like the vet, but you still have to comply. Do you see the difference? And so it's just continuing to set our dogs up to succeed and not have these unrealistic fears. And what it all really comes back down to is you're a trusting leader. That bond and foundation has been laid, that you respect them, you understand them, you're honoring them. There are going to be some uncomfortable things in life. They don't have to like it. They have to comply. And nobody, not you or dogs, want to have all these unrealistic fears. I mean, it's just really, really sad for our dogs and our humans, honestly. We have humans that are terrified to do things, and it just completely impedes on their quality of life. So that is the goal for our dogs as well, is to not have all these unrealistic fears. The way in which we handle and manage fear does matter. We need to continue to empower our puppies, show them there's really truly nothing to fear. And if you manage those initial fear reactions correctly, then you won't have a dog that's continued to be suffering with irrational, unrealistic fears for the rest of their life. So there you have it. I'm Jeanette with 4A Kennels. We're not only healing hearts and changing lives through the power of a dog, but we are changing breeding from bad to badass. We have a pile of empowered badass breeders, and these are things I train my breeders to do that then train their clients to do. And guess what? The benefit of it all is our dogs are happier. It's all about our dogs. We ask them to work for us day in and day out, and they truly do, and they do it without asking anything from us. But we have to do better as well. In many ways, we're just ruining our dogs. They're anxious, they're fearful, and there's no reason for that. So we can do better. They deserve better. And you don't know unless you know, right? Like, we think we're doing the right thing, but just remember that they're not human. We don't want them to be human. I have to remind myself all the time, like, I want to rush in and rescue them and pet them and show them, you have nothing to fear. I'm here. I will never let anything to happen to you. But that would fulfill my need to feel like I'm doing my job, but I'm not. They are not human. We need to treat them and honor them as they are, so that they can be the best version of themselves, so they can believe in themselves, and so that they can truly have the power to heal hearts and change lives. It has to start with us making sure that they have everything they need and they feel safe, empowered, and honored. Have a great weekend, everybody.